Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Malika and I'm an American expat and I have been living here in Hong Kong for just over a year. This video is a bit overdue, but I'm finally taking some time to answer FAQs about what it's like living in Hong Kong. Most of these questions have been pulled right from my Instagram stories and comments, and some of it is just info that I think you guys need to know. So, let's dive into your most frequently asked questions about life in Hong Kong. Question number one, is it expensive to live in Hong Kong? Yes, Hong Kong can be expensive, especially for the housing. It has actually consistently been rated one of the most expensive cities in the world. If you're planning to here, be prepared to spend a pretty penny on rent and be aware that it will probably be a small and not amazing apartment. Most of my expat friends pay anywhere from 15 to 30 HKD on rent for studios to one bedrooms in decent centrally located areas. It does get cheaper as you move further away from central Hong Kong, so if you want to save and don't mind a long commute depending on where you work, that is an option. However, some things here are surprisingly cheap. Public transportation is accessible and affordable, and local taxis have very affordable base rates. The base fare for a taxi in 2024 is 29 Hong Kong dollars, which is $3.72, and you can get pretty far on the base fare or slightly above. Domestic help and childcare is also relatively affordable thanks to Hong Kong's domestic helper programs. While most expats pay more than this, the minimum wage for full-time live-in help that works 6 days a week is 48.70 Hong Kong, plus a food allowance of 12.36, which equals like 7.85, which is basically a third of the cost of childcare alone in the US. Groceries can also vary depending on your neighborhood or where you shop. I mostly shop around Central, Mid-Levels, or Wan Chai, and I spend about $600 a month on groceries for my husband and I. And yes, I think that is much higher than it should be for two people, but it is consistent with what we spent when we had been living together in LA. The hard thing about grocery shopping in Hong Kong is that the apartments and kitchens are smaller with a really limited space, so there really isn't a culture of buying in bulk to save. Most people shop every few days just because there isn't room to store bulk items. You can cut your grocery bill in half by shopping in more local areas, going to wet markets or street vendors instead of the fancy expat grocery stores and butcher shops. But for me, grocery shopping is part necessity and part experience, and I just like to shop where I like to shop. Question number two, what is there to do / eat in Hong Kong / what are some of the best things to do in Hong Kong? So I'm combining these questions that I got separately to kind of give you a longer answer. And yeah, eating and shopping are a big draw in this city. But that's definitely not all there is to do. Hong Kong offers a wide range of activities, attractions to suit every interest level. And while I absolutely love the wide variety of things to do in Hong Kong, and after being here, I still haven't scratched the surface. But here are a few must-dos you can do in your time here. Don't miss Victoria Peak for panoramic views of the city from the top of Hong Kong Island. You can take the Peak tram for a touristy but cute experience, or just hike it up to the top. I also love the Tian Tan Buddha. You can head over to Lanto Island by cable car for a serene experience, and definitely don't miss the Poland Monastery and Wisdom Path while you are there. And if you like to shop, Hong Kong has a ton of high-end malls and super cheap street markets, so you can find amazing goods at every price point. And if you're outdoorsy, Hong Kong has some pretty epic hikes, from intense mountains to seaside views and even waterfalls. Hong Kong also has over 200 different islands, so weekend island hopping is something you definitely should do, and the ferry system is extensive, so it's nice and easy to get out of the city and enjoy some low-key island vibes. Question number three, what's it like being Black in Hong Kong? So Hong Kong is such a diverse city, I actually don't feel like I stand out as much as I thought I would as a Black woman in Asia. I feel the same way here as I have in any major cosmopolitan city, which is perfectly normal. There are also a lot of other Black people here from all over the diaspora, so it's been very easy to connect with other Black expats, find places to get my hair done, and of course go to activities for the culture. I really love Africa Center Hong Kong. It's been a great resource for mixing it up with local and cultural events like Afrobeats parties and things like that. I will put a link to their Eventbrite page in the description box below so you guys can check them out. And no, I personally have not experienced any racism or anti-Black vibes here, but that doesn't mean it never happens. Several of my other Black expat friends have had their fair share of negative experiences with the locals, especially co-workers. Racism is unfortunately an ugly reality everywhere, and it can pop up anytime, but all you can control is how you handle it. Try to build a community so you feel less lonely and less isolated, or at least can find other people who share your misery. Question number 4, is it hard to make friends in Hong Kong? No, it's actually been refreshingly easy and I love it so much here. I thought it would be difficult because Hong Kong is such a big, bustling city, but people have been so warm and so welcoming and so open. I've met most of my friends through different expat groups and WhatsApp chats. Some of my favorite expat groups and organizations are Internations, Women of Hong Kong, and the American Women's Association, and I will leave more about each in the description box below. I've actually been an Internations member for a while. They have chapters all over the world and has been a great resource for living abroad. I first joined them when I lived in Italy, and that chapter and the Hong chapter are just amazing. Women of Hong Kong is also one of the most fun groups here. They have a lot of events that are all designed to connect women across backgrounds and encourage socializing and friendship. Question 5, was it hard to learn the language? No, because English is one of the main languages spoken here. Cantonese is the other primary language, which I have not tried to learn because English is so prevalent. I've been able to pick up a handful of Cantonese words just by living here and being out day to day, but I decided not to take lessons and really focus on learning it, mostly because you don't need to. Cantonese is not a language that's widely spoken outside of Hong Kong, and I don't plan on living here that long term, so it didn't make sense to invest that much time in it. Question number 6, why did you choose Hong Kong over Singapore or other places in Asia? So Hong Kong and Singapore seem to be in some kind of competition this year among the expats and the tourists. And when my husband and I were considering a move to Asia and then vetting different business opportunities in the region, we were kind of tied between Hong Kong and Singapore, but Hong Kong overall just worked out. And yeah, at first I was a little bit bummed, but then I visited Singapore last year and I loved it, but I'm so much happier here in Hong Kong than I would have been there. Both cities have amazing infrastructure, healthcare, and education for those considering a move of children, and both are vibrant economic hubs for international business. But what I love most about Hong Kong is just how friendly, approachable, and authentic the city is, and of course the access to real nature, which you wouldn't get in Singapore. Hong Kong is a major city, but it's just so easy to get to amazing hiking, beaches, charming little fishing villages, and other islands. And the strong Western influence helps Hong Kong feel very much like home. Halloween and Christmas are huge here, and there are also restaurants that cater an American-style Thanksgiving and import turkeys, so you can keep your holiday traditions, which is really important for keeping the homesickness at bay when living abroad. Number 7, is Hong Kong a good city for digital nomads? I'm thinking about making it my hub for a while. So I would actually say no for a few reasons. Number 1, the cost, as we already discussed. Hong Kong is just an incredibly expensive city. And if you don't have a competitive salary and you're someone who depends on freelance income that can fluctuate, it can be very hard for you to live well in this city. There are a lot of other cheaper cities in Asia that are much more nomad friendly, so you can consider places like Thailand, Bali, and Vietnam. Hong Kong also does not have a digital nomad visa, so it's not the easiest place to legally set up as a remote worker immigration-wise, but there are other work visa options you can go through to move there legally. And question number 8. If you knew then before moving what you know now, what would your top words of advice be? Number 1 would be save your money and budget carefully. So I am from New York City, so I'm used to exorbitant prices for everything, and Hong Kong is an expensive city, so if you're not used to it, be prepared. My husband and I are very lucky to have a housing allowance in our relocation package, but if that wasn't the case, rent would be absurd. If you're someone on a less stable income, it will be very challenging to stay here for an extended period, so I would recommend you focus on other affordable cities. And number 2, just relax and enjoy the vibes. I was so nervous moving here, especially because of how severe and long the pandemic restrictions were, but luckily they eased up just shortly before we arrived. I understand if you're planning a move now, that's no longer a factor, but I'm sure there are other things you're worried about, and just whatever it is, just go with the flow and trust that it'll be a solution. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to this channel, and please share it with someone who you think would find it helpful, whether it's someone who's planning to move abroad, travel to Hong Kong, or anything else. And be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.